Thank you. And the reason we record this is because there is going to be a training portion in this where I'm going to be doing a little bit of a time management training, and then we make those available to everybody afterwards. We get sometimes some requests from outside entities. Are you there to record? And we can't always allow those because sometimes we're talking about proprietary information that can't be recorded. So that's why we do it on our end and then provide whatever's available at the end, if that makes sense. Okay. Make sure I'm going right here. All right, so just to get going a little bit, sorry, I'm rusty at this. I used to do it. Giovanna's so smooth, man. All right, so October is Halloween Safety Month, and I'm going to try to put you in breakout rooms here for just a minute, and you'll take a moment to introduce yourself, or actually it says we're going to do it in chat. So take a moment to introduce yourself in chat, name your organization, and share your best Halloween safety tip. Or if you want to share your tip by coming off mute, that's great. So we'll
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Esther with El Concilio. One safety that we do for the kids every year, we go to the dollar store, to the Dollar Tree store, and I buy glow sticks.
And
I have the kids put on either the necklace or the bracelet so they can reflect at night when we're crossing the streets or things like that.
Great idea. And who doesn't love a glow stick, right?
Yeah, they're really fun.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Newman. I am with the Child Development Consultants with it's a lot. CAPC. And I have an autistic child. Well, he's not a child anymore. He's 18. But for years, whenever we were planning for Halloween, me and my husband would decide ahead of time what neighborhood we were going to go into. And then usually for like a week or two, we would walk that neighborhood with my child, or both my children, so that they would know, be familiar with it, and we wouldn't be going into unfamiliar places.
Wow, great strategy, Stephanie, with autism or not, just to not be afraid. Yeah. Go ahead, Luz.
Well, I don't have babies no more, but I used to do it for all my kids and my nephews, and I used to take a big crowd, and we would always be together, and I would let them know before we start walking not to run to another house without the group. We would go together, and also I would tell them that not to eat the candy until we get home, and we separate the candy, make it fun. Everybody get in their corners and dump their candies and make it fun, a fun way to separate the candies that are the same, and at the same time making sure that they're not open. And if they were open, there's a bag, we're gonna toss them there. That was a way for us to have fun at the same time, and making sure, like, hey, don't eat no candy, or bring it to me if you're gonna eat it. We would have to make sure. And I used to take a big crowd, all my nephews, my kids, and other people with their kids. It was a big crowd. We used to do that when my parents were alive in Latro. It was fun. They always were waiting for it. And I would always dress as a witch, and I would tell them, you're not gonna go knock on the door. I made it fun for them.
Good.
So, to make sure it was safe crossing the street, because we did have when I was younger, we had an incident where a car hit somebody we knew.
Ooh.
Crossing the street on Halloween.
Yeah.
So I would remind them, remember, cars are not looking out sometimes.
Yeah.
And you cross the street, and it's easy just to say, oh, there's another light out there, cross the street. No, we cross together. We all follow together.
Great. Thanks for that, Luz. About a couple more.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Melissa with El Concilio. grandparents FFN program. One thing my dad used to do with us when we were little, he would buy us the like mini flashlights and give us a necklace, and that's what we would carry as we would trick or treat. And then, well, when I was little, they didn't have the backpacks with the leash, and well, he didn't really want to ruin our costume, so he would have a rope connected to me and my two siblings. And even though we were hand in hand, he would let us three walk together, but he was still attached to us.
Gave you some independence, but he still had control, right?
Yes.
All right. Anybody else?
I have a tip.
Yep.
I'm Renee from St. Mary's Community Services. I work as a case manager in the Family Lodge. And we've been sheltering here at St. Mary's for 2 years, and we've had a trunk or treat. So we're just trying to provide a safe space due to kind of like the area that we're, in the community that we serve, it's kind of unsafe. So we do provide a trunk or treat. But this year we're going to be doing a trunk or suite at the Adventist Health Arena. They're going to be having suites that we're able to decorate and just providing a safer environment for the kids to do their trick-or-treating. It's going to be on the 30th from 5 to 8, and that's at the Adventist Health Arena.
Wow. Do you have a flyer or something for that, Renee?
Yeah, I can actually send you one of those flyers so that we could share it with the group.
Great. We'll put it in the follow-up for community links. We're seeing more and more of these trunk or treat or trunk or suite type events where it kind of prevents all of that having to walk through traffic and stuff like that. So we're seeing more and more of those. I know in our neighborhood, we have that, and I usually get more trick-or-treaters there than I do on the trick-or-treat night. So yeah. How about 2 more tips?
Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
You hear me? Hi. So we do trunk or treat in our backyard for my nieces and my nephews, so that they don't have to go out. So I have a really big backyard, and I have about maybe 10 families. So they pull up the trunk and they make it a circle, and they we dress up, and that's how we do it every year.
Wow.
But when my children were small, we always make sure we carry flashlight, and we always make sure that there's an adult with them.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, one more great tip or memory even.
After they get their candy, a tip is to tell them that these candies are no good, and then you can keep all the good ones for yourself.
Love it. I
take the recess from my niece.
Isn't it Jimmy Kimmel every year, or he started this thing where he would tell his kids they ate all their Halloween candy to see? Oh, that was just awful. I remember when that first came out. So yeah, wouldn't go over well for most.
Can I give one more tip?
Sure.
All right, I have a son, his birthday is November 2nd. So I always go day after Halloween, which is November 1st, to Walmart and go get the 50% off candy.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah, for any kind of next things coming up.
Yeah.
And decoration.
Yes, no, I just put that candy in the grab bags and the piñatas.
There you
The
go.
trick-or-treat candy.
There you go. Well, thank you guys for sharing your tips. And, please feel free to put your name and agency in the chat box. And hopefully everybody will be safe that's going out trick-or-treating or trunk-or-treating or trunk-or-sweeting or whatever it might be this year. All right. So today's agenda, we talked about the observances and highlights. I'm going to provide a training around time management. The items that I'm going to be sharing around time management are not new. They're not novel. Many of you might have heard of them before, but I always find them helpful to revisit. And, we know time is precious. And so maybe it'll just be some tips that'll help everybody. And then we're going to have a large group discussion, question and answer, and then we'll do agency updates and announcements. But again, here's another awareness. It's Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Awareness Month. Yeah. It's also Dental Hygiene, a Happy National Dental Hygiene Month for October. And so we've got those three going on. Any other awarenesses that we might have missed? I know you guys are always good resources for some. No?
I do believe it is also Child Loss Month
Okay, thank you,
for
Stephanie.
parents who've lost children.
Yeah, it's an important one to acknowledge. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the time management workshop. I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment while I bring up my other PowerPoint. And again, as I said, this is not new information. It's not my information. It actually comes from Stephen Covey. Many of you might have heard of Stephen. He was a big, he was more well known probably in the 90s for time management. Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding the share button. And so, like I said, it's not my information. It's just information that I revisit on a regular basis when I'm starting to feel stressed or that I'm having difficulty prioritizing. So hopefully this information will be helpful for you guys too. But just by a show of hands or thumbs or reaction, have you guys ever heard of Stephen Covey or any of the work that he's done? Okay, no worries. All right. So I title this, You Choose, Time Victim or Time Master. And really what it is stating here is you really have a choice about how you see time and how it affects your ability to function. So you'll be able to choose which you are. All right. So I want you to take just a moment and think about time, on why time matters, and just call out things that you feel about time or you've heard about time. You know, time flies. You know, we always hear time flies, right? What are some other feelings or thoughts that you might have about time?
I have a good one. Don't waste people's time.
Don't waste people's time.
I don't like when people waste my time. Like,
Yeah.
and like if I have an appointment, like my nail girl, sometimes the girl, if she's late, I'm like, I am courteous of your time. Please be courteous of mine.
Yeah.
I have stuff to do.
Yeah. What else?
Time never stops.
Say it
I
again.
have ADHD. Oh,
Say it again.
Time never stops.
Time never stops. True, true, true.
time blindness is a real thing.
Time blindness. Yeah. What else?
Well, I really think being on time is important. You know, if you're not on time, it's just like, you know, you're not really, if you're going to a meeting or whatever, you're coming in late, you're just not, you know, getting all the information that you need or just appointments. I just think it's really important to be early, actually.
My dad used to say, if you're on time, you're late.
Yep.
For things like that. Yeah.
Time never comes back, so don't waste your time. You know,
Yeah.
as much as we plan our day and we can kill a whole 30 minutes, sometimes just scrolling on our phone, and then we're like, I could have done a lot in those 30 minutes. And
Right.
you're not going to get those 30 minutes back.
Right. What are some
My
other
first
ones?
boss, my first boss, Kathy, always said what you just said. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. He was a military guy. I'm my first job at 15. Maybe that's why I'm so about, because he always was like, do not, you have to be here early. Don't
Yeah.
waste time.
Yep. Here are some other ones that are out here. Yeah. So when you look at these kind of lists, things that kind of encompass some of the ones that you've already been talking about, do you notice anything about these statements?
It's all stressful
Stress, right? Right?
or negatively minded.
Yeah.
All of them are
Negative
negative.
minded.
Yeah, so absolutely. The column on the left, time flies. There's never enough. I'm running out of time. Time waits for no one. Don't waste time. Time's up. Stress, negativity, right? But then look at the ones on the right. Time is precious. No time like the present. Time is gift. Time's a tool, not a crunch. Oh, we've got plenty of time. Or it's time. Those tend to have a little bit more of a positive feel. They still might bring on some stress, but if you're waiting for a party and you're like, oh, finally, it's time, right? That brings on a good feeling. So even when we're thinking about time, our personal relationship with time influences every aspect of our work and those that you work with. And this is what it's kind of speaking like, meaning you can be a time victim or you can be a time master. Okay? So why does time matter? Why does it matter? Why are we so stressed about it?
Because for some people, you kind of plan out your day depending on your time. For example, us as home visitors, we plan out our visits and we plan it out at certain times. Like Jennifer said, like when her now lady doesn't show up. Same goes for us when we go to someone's home and they don't open the door or they delay us on our visit. You know, for us, it's kind of like now I'm backed up with the next following visits that I have.
Right? It's appointment based. Yeah.
I think it's precious, whether in a good or a negative way. Everyone's time are we our home visits to some of our clients is the only help they get, and they make time for us the same way we make time for them. So it's important and it's
Yeah.
precious. I think it's precious time.
Yeah. What about in relationship to colleagues? Why is time important?
I think it's a form of respect because when you have an appointment or a meeting, you should show up on time because it's showing respect that you're respecting that person of their time.
Well, we don't often think about it with clients a lot, right? Jennifer, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like time is very important and whatever position you're in. Sometimes like whether you're in upper management or lower management or just any kind of position, things are time sensitive. And sometimes you do have to stop in your tracks and restart and start something else. And then since we're talking about time, like your time was clicking on this project, but now you started this one. And I mean, we're multitaskers, but sometimes our time is spread out. It's pretty thin.
Right. Right.
Kathy,
Yeah.
I think time is important because you have to be productive in what you do. And so time management is critical in being productive in what you do, even if it's your professional life or your personal life.
Yep. I think about it a lot at home. You know, I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have my priorities. I'm going to start a load of laundry. I'm going to do the dishes. I'm, going to change my sheets. And then something happens I didn't start the laundry, so I don't have clean sheets, right? And it can discombobulate the whole day. And that's just at home. So it's really easy for it to feel overwhelming at work if you get a new priority thrown in there, right? Yeah.
Someone, Sheila in the chat said time allows us to structure our lives. That's true. Because when you set a time for when you plan, like for example, our days off, if we have a set plan, okay, by this time I want to complete this, I want to complete that, you feel like, okay, I got that all done. And when you have a day where like you wake up and you're like, what should I do today? You kind of feel like your day just goes by and you did nothing at all.
Right. And thank you, Melissa, for bringing up the chat. Please, guys, if I don't see the chat, somebody just step in and share, because I want to make sure we get those voices heard as well. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, another thing I noticed is that we carry an agenda here at work, and we feel lost without it because it has our day planned by time. But we also have one at home.
Yep.
Maybe not in paper, but in here. Like you said, Kathy, we have it all planned, and something goes wrong that it didn't happen. You kind of like, wait, you get lost. You're like, what happened? Something's missing here, because you already had your agenda planned for the day when you're off, or when on the weekend, or even after work. You continue with the agenda at home. You leave the one at work, but you continue it at home with the agenda.
Start a new one at home.
Start a new one at home. And it's time management also.
Yep. And we see here it says how you manage time affects the work of others in the interdependent system you work in. Meaning how you manage your time affects others, right? It can ultimately be a measurement of effectiveness and performance. Effectiveness and performance. So how you manage time can have a direct influence on how your supervisor might manage or see your performance. So that's even heavier, right? Okay. So what I'm sorry, go ahead. No? So what I'd like you all to do right now is take out a piece of scratch paper. Okay? Piece of scratch paper. And you're gonna do a time pie. I'm gonna show you an example. This is from an example of a teacher. And I just want you to use this pie, take a few minutes, everybody, and list all of the items you do. You can give them percentages, your best guess. This doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody is going to see this time pie but you. So you'll see, I used, most of my time was when I was in ratio teaching. And this is based on an 8-hour workday. It's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And I used most of my time in ratio. I made sure I scheduled my lunch, time I had for paperwork, for planning, for other items. So take just a minute and do your own time pie. When you're done, if you could just put a thumbs up in your box or try to be as true to your day as you can. Thank you. Okay. You keep working on yours if you're still working on it. But when you look at your time pie, what feelings do you have about it, if any?
I could still do a lot more.
You could still do a lot more. Okay.
I felt
don't
like
have
I
enough.
didn't have enough time.
Yeah, I don't have enough time in my day.
Don't have enough
Yeah,
time to get
I
everything you
needed
wanted.
2 pies.
Okay. What other feelings? Thoughts? Was it interesting to look at your time this way? I mean, how we don't often do this, right? Just kind of see where we're at.
I have a you made me kind of the first one where you asked what does these words tell you? They make you feel like panic or like, I do that to my kids, and I think coming from always teaching or I used to be in sales a lot. Everything is this. So I even tell my kids in life, like, I'm like, hey, you have 15 minutes to do this because I feel like if you don't put a time limit on somebody, they could take all day. And that's just not how life is set up anymore, where I'm trying to prepare my own kids. But sometimes I'm like, I know I built that little like anxious inside of them, which is not good, but I mean, it's preparing them for life.
Yeah, it is, right?
Looking at my pie, I'm finding that I'm not taking time to eat.
It's important, Liz.
And when I think about it, because for us, we don't have a set lunchtime, Kathy.
Yeah.
Because we're just so busy throughout the whole 8 hours that when you have time is when you have lunch. And I'm finding and just looking at this pie chart and I'm thinking, oh my God, even when I do eat, I'm eating and working, or I'm eating and answering emails. What's going on? I'm still working. It's not lunch.
And that does a couple of things. It takes a toll on you after a while, right? But it also doesn't help us set boundaries around time. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So you'll see the next prompt is when you look at your time pie, does it feel powerful? Does it feel like you're in control, like you know what's going on? Does it feel good?
I do feel in control, but that I know what's going on. I don't think necessarily I don't think like your 8 hours, sometimes it's too feel good. It's to me, I try to do every day the more it's more, my favorite word is productive. Be productive. And sometimes I don't give myself a break. And my sister works with kids of special needs and she tells me, hey, you like those boundaries, you have to set those boundaries because those boundaries, I don't think anyone has boundaries anymore. And that's personally like we don't even hold ourselves accountable anymore. It's sometimes I watch old movies where there used to be those don't call during dinner time, don't answer your phone, don't respect people's it's yeah.
Different. It's a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the nature of work that we do, working in service to families and children, we want to be available when they're available. So if they're available at noon, I'll ship my lunch. Or yeah, my lunch is at 12:30, but that's the only time this client can meet. And so, we're shifting our priorities. We're making choices. But one of the things that I always remember, and really the focus we've been talking a lot in the field, is about making sure we're prepared to show up fully for those that we're working with. And it's hard to do that when we don't take care of ourselves. So it's interesting, right, to see how we'll fluctuate and we kind of can suffer in the idea of being in service.
Like you said, Kathy, about like taking time for ourselves. I feel like also making the pie. I've noticed, and maybe others have noticed on their pie, on that percentage, we don't have a time where we reflect. We don't have a time where we think to ourselves, like, how am I feeling today? am I like in a good mood? How is my mood going into these visits? Because I know on my pie, I don't have that because I don't really like throughout my day, I don't plan like, okay, I'm going to think about myself and I'm going to reflect on how I'm doing.
How I'm
And I feel like a
grounded or
lot
how,
of, yes,
yeah,
I feel like a lot of us can agree that we don't have that on our pie, right?
probably. Now, yep, go ahead.
Sorry, I want an interjection. Sorry. And having people respect our boundaries sometimes is really hard in a position where you're trying to look good to your upper management or help a team member out or do something. Sometimes it's not necessarily you don't have the time or you're closing your doors or even yourself, you're scared to look like you're not doing enough in a work setting. Like, oh, that I am taking a lunch. Let me take a lunch. Or even though it's legally you're supposed to, it's still that boundary is not always
Yeah,
respected. Yeah.
yeah. Now, are there things in your time pie you want to change? Okay. If so, now what I'd like you to do is draw another circle.
Another circle.
And draw the time pie you want. I'm not saying this is necessarily the time pie you're going to get, but if you could be fully in charge of your time, what would that look like? You're creating your ideal time pie. Okay. Think about these questions. Is your ideal time pie powerful? Are you in control of this? What challenges might you face? Let's go with that one. What challenges might you face if you were to shift to this ideal time pie?
I think it's a whole challenge within yourself to keep those boundaries.
Yep.
And it's because it's real easy to want to do that and versus put it into practice.
Yep.
I would think you have to remember that you don't have any control of outside forces that might interrupt your time.
Yes, Cheryl, so important, especially in the work we do, right? It takes just one phone call to make a difference. A little bit about what Jennifer said too is if you started holding your lunchtime, for lack of a better word, sacred, right? And started telling coworkers, I'm sorry, I'm on my lunch right now. Or maybe not even apologizing, right? We shouldn't apologize for taking lunch. Saying, I'm on my lunch right now, I'll touch back with you when I'm back, right? But that can be hard. And they'll be like, oh, no, it's just a minute. Sorry, I'll get back to you.
And it can happen because, like, for me, for example, I'm an overthinker. So I sometimes feel like if I'm eating at my cubicle and I tell them that, I'm like, did I come off rude? Like, now I feel bad. What if they really needed me? And then I'm like, but I'm on my lunch. And it's just,
yes.
I feel like that's where we have that conflict within ourselves that we need to check ourselves and be like, you're fine. You know, you didn't say it rudely. You just let them know, hey, this is my time to recompose myself.
I had a old coworker where she is Muslim and she would take her time for prayer. And I always thought of that being so like, what's the word? So much commitment and praise to her because she would take her time. Everyone respected it. And it was part of her religion, but like I think there's little small things that we, like you say, you have to make them sacred. Whether they're the most minuscule things,
Right.
those little small things, like you say, stop the trajectory of your day. The smallest things, like they set you set seeds, and it grows into in your mind, it grows into something that's positive, and nothing really comes quickly. Everything it takes time and growth. Dropping that seed of, like you're saying, make it sacred. That's actually, I'm gonna keep that in my mind, because it's like everything should be sacred, because nowadays nothing is very sacred.
Well, and let's face it, a lot of us, just seeing photos here, we work in cubicles, right? Right next to each other. So it's easy just to say, oh, Cheryl, for example. Oh, Cheryl. And then I'll realize, oh, she's at lunch. And I would do the same thing. I'd have my lunch in my cubicle, and I would be like, oh yeah, no biggie. But then I realized that I wasn't eating my lunch, or it wasn't getting done. So I committed to going to the lunchroom, right? Just getting up from my cubicle and going to the lunchroom to eat my lunch. Now, not everybody might do that. Some of my other coworkers have a little sign that they'll put out at their desk saying, I'm at lunch. And it takes practice to start honoring those boundaries, but we have to be committed to it. Like you were saying, Jennifer, the coworker you were talking about, she was committed to it. She stayed true to it. And when you do that for yourself, others will do it for you as well. So, yep.
And I've also caught myself where there was times when I had first started here, like you said, it's the cubicles. We feel like we're just open to talking to each other. And I would be one that would be like, hey, can you help me really quick? But then I made it a habit of myself, because we all have these whiteboards, and I read their whiteboard first. And I'm like, I'm not even going to speak. I'll just come back when their whiteboard is clean and they're not doing anything. Respect like their signs, read, make sure their whiteboard is not written on where it says I'm in a Zoom or I'm working on paperwork. Because sometimes because I've been pulled aside from when I'm doing my notes, and then I get sidetracked and I'm like, which client was I on? Or like, it just takes from me being in the zone.
So what I'm hearing, Melissa, is it's kind of communicating, right? It's communicating what you need, and it might be a shift in office culture, right? To just talk about, maybe at a staff meeting, about how we're going to do better at honoring our break times and things like that. So, yeah. Okay.
Kathy, I wanted to share just doing the two different pies for me. The first pie, when I started, doing and labeling the pieces of my pie, I felt a bit frustrated internally, like, oh yes, I've got to give this much to this, and I've got to give this much to this, because that's what I do every day. And I felt a bit internally, just a bit frustration. But then, but when I did the pie where it's my perfect pie, I was like, yes.
See?
This is what I would love. There's like a calmness, like for me. It was interesting to me.
And believe it or not, it's possible, but it takes effort. Okay. So if you want to make change, that's what we're going to jump into next. Is there's kind of 4 stages of change that we have to address. So the first one is, okay, we've got that current pie, right? The Liz, the one that kind of go, Argh. And then this ideal pie, which kind of felt a little lighter. But there's this place in the middle, is how do we change? How do we make those changes? How do we acknowledge? And there's 4 steps to change that Stephen Covey talks about. And the first is awareness. Okay. And I'm going to use the example of, I'm not a smoker, but I'm going to use that example. I want to stop smoking. Okay. I have to become aware that I want to change that behavior. I have to be aware that I know smoking's not good for me. I don't want to put that model out there for my children or grandchildren, and I want to stop. So there has to be an awareness, a conscious desire to change. Okay? I have to want to do it. The next step is making a plan for change, accepting that I'm going to change. I'm going to make a plan for it. So I've become aware. I have the desire to change. Now I'm going to make a plan. And the beginning of my plan is I want to see my doctor. I want to tell them about what I want to do, how I want to change. I want to inquire about programs or treatments that might support my stopping smoking. Okay. So I've become aware. I've made a plan. What do you think the next step is?
Make the changes?
I've got to take the action, right? I know I want to change. I've made a plan. Now I've got to change my behaviors. I've got to stop purchasing cigarettes. I've got to engage in new behaviors when I feel the need or urge to smoke. And I need to ask for support when I feel like I need it. So awareness, conscious desire to change, make the plan for change, accept it, take action. What do you think the last step is?
Acceptance, or like congratulations to yourself.
So a little bit of that is the adherence. So making sure, yep, I've got the desire to change. I've made a plan for change. I've changed my behaviors. I've got to stick through it today, tomorrow, and I have to acknowledge my successes. And even if there's drawbacks, acknowledge it, but move forward. Don't stop. Just acknowledge, okay, today I had 2 cigarettes. Okay, tomorrow I'm gonna try to have none. But sticking to the commitment and the desire to change. Maybe I need to change my action. Go ahead.
I said so it'd be the consistency of taking those actions.
Yeah. Day after day after day. Yeah. Yeah. So in order to move from a current state to an ideal state, we must change. We change behaviors, mindset, priorities, and practice. And once we've become aware of what we want to change, we make that plan and take action. And when making change, we use the example of, stopping smoking. But even if you're making a plan for how to change from your current time pie to your ideal pie, you have to think about how you think and use time. And Stephen Covey has a method of analyzing our current time pie and some strategies to inform how we move from the current pie to the ideal time pie. But I want to take a pause here and see if there's any questions before we move forward on the 4 steps, because we kind of went through them quickly. So Stephen Covey's theory or his strategy is based on a matrix known as Eisenhower's urgent important principle, and distinguishes between importance and urgency, It's important responsibilities contribute to the achievement of your goals, and urgent responsibilities require immediate attention. These activities are often tightly linked to the accomplishment of someone's goal, and not dealing with these issues will cause immediate consequences. So if you look at the way this graph is set out, you'll see there's urgent and not urgent. There's also important and not important. So you'll see they kind of make these quadrants, right? And so taking your current time pie, the one that you may want to change, the activities that you listed in that pie, on this quadrant now, put where you think those activities fall. So for example, in the example I was using was as a classroom teacher, being in ratio took up most of my time. It's definitely an important part of my time, but it isn't necessarily urgent because it was what I'm doing most of the day. So just take your best guess. Nobody's going to see this but you, where those activities fall in these quadrants, or where you think they fall. If they're urgent and important, they go in that first box. If they're important but not urgent, that next, the top right box. Not important but urgent, believe it, those things happen. And then not urgent, not important. I'll give you just a couple of minutes to do that. And again, this PowerPoint will be made available to everybody, so. So here's how Stephen Covey thinks of these different quadrants. So quadrant 1, which is urgent and important, contains tasks and responsibilities that need immediate attention. So this might be an example. Your boss comes to you and says, I need this in the next 5 minutes, right? That's going to be an urgent and important. Quadrant 1 can also be differentiated into items that could have been foreseen and those that couldn't. This quadrant should only contain activities and responsibilities that require your immediate attention. This space should be reserved for emergencies and extremely important deadlines. Should a major crisis arise, you'll have to postpone other tasks to get this done. Crisis, pressing problems, might be projects that are deadline driven, emergencies and last minute preparations. Quadrant 2 is for items that are important without requiring immediate attention. Covey points out that this quadrant should be used for long-term strategizing. Items in this quadrant do not have high urgency, but can play a very important role in the future. This quadrant is not only reserved for strategic planning, but items related to health, education, exercise, and career. Investing time in these areas may not be urgent at the present day, but in the long term can turn out to be some of the greatest importance. We should also pay close attention that we have scheduled enough time for quadrant 2 activities. In order to avoid them becoming quadrant 1 items. So we don't want items from here to become urgent and important. Doing so will allow you to increase your capability of finishing your tasks on time. Quadrant 2 is where we find planning, preparing, training, exercise, health, and recreation items. Quadrant 3, distractions with high urgency. These are reserved for tasks that are urgent without being important. Covey recommends minimizing or eliminating these tasks as they do not contribute to your output. Delegation might be an option here, but nobody wants to get delegated something that isn't important, right? So we'd have to think about that. This quadrant summarizes items that appear to have high urgency, but are not really important. Some of these might be entirely ego-driven without contributing value. These activities can be obstacles that stand in between you and your goals. And again, you might consider delegating these items or rescheduling them. If another person is causing you quadrant 3 tasks, it could be appropriate to decline their request. If this is not an option, try to avoid being constantly interrupted by appointing time slots for those who often need your help. This way you can address all their issues at once without regularly interrupting your own concentration. So this is to the person that, like me, who would come up to you and say, hey, do you have just a minute? Hey, do you have just a minute? Hey, do you have just a minute? That's what these are talking about. Not that that can't happen at all, but if your day is full of that, whether you're on the doing or receiving, it still falls in this quadrant. Make sense? The quadrant 4 have little to no value. Items that are unimportant and not urgent are called time wasters and should be eliminated at any cost. These are activities that don't contribute value. It might be the sitting there when you're not on your break, scrolling through Facebook, going down rabbit holes on Google, who knows what, right? And we should try to eliminate those items in our list, no matter how entertaining they might be, okay? Have any of you seen the activity done with rocks, pebbles, sand, and water? Yeah. It's based on this, basically you're given a big jar and you're given a pile of rocks, a pile of pebbles, a pile of sand, and some water, and told it all needs to fit in this container. And you look at it and it's overwhelming, right? Lots of people put in the water and the sand, get that part done, then the pebbles, and then before you know it, there's no room for the big rocks, right? You can't seem to get everything in. But there is a method. If you put the biggest rocks in the jar first, they take up most of the space and you'll think the jar is full. But then if you put in pebbles, those pebbles fill in space that the big rocks didn't take. You do the same with sand and it fills in those space. And then lastly, water can take up any of the space. So you end up with a big sandy glass of rocks, pebbles, and water. Well, the same is true as if you think of these quadrants the same way. Get them up here. So you'll see non-urgent and important, the top right quadrant, we're assigning that big rocks, right? Remember, this is where we talk about relationship building. It was also about planning, training. Okay? For pebbles, we're going to urgent and important. Sand we'll see as urgent, not important, and water as not urgent. Okay? Covey also assigns a percentage of time that you should spend in each of these quadrants. And based on what we see on the screen here, where does Stephen Covey say we should spend most of our time? Which quadrant?
1. Right? Is it 1?
Look at it. You'll see the percentages in the quadrant. So in quadrant 1, which is urgent and important, it's the pebbles quadrant. He says you should spend 30% of your time in this area. Where does
Quadrant 2, the big rocks?
Yes, big rocks, right? Because it's going to have the most impact on the work you do. It's not 100% of the time, but most of your time, he wants you to be working in things that are important, but not urgent. Have to save time for those things that are. And then really, he recommends spending 0 time in the bottom 2 quadrants. Okay. Now, remember, these are just recommendations. Life falls for us very differently. But if you thought about how your pie falls into these quadrants and where you could shift it and how you spend your time, it might help make some shifts. Okay. Questions, or let me pause here for a minute. This is the part I have to go back to frequently in kind of categorizing where my work falls. And here's the other thing, is it looks different at different times of the year, right? When First Five is in the throes of renewal, we're working in urgent and important. We have short timelines. We're not in control of a lot of things that we're being asked to do because they're timeline driven. But we also do get time to plan, to train, and capacity build. And that's building a future, right? So we do get to spend time doing that. Any thoughts about these quadrants?
Kathy?
Yep.
As you were describing each quadrant, and I was doing a little self-reflecting here as to why I have, what's the madness to my chaos? And, I'm thinking back, like, I think it's how I was taught. My mom and dad always believed and instilled in us, why are you going to do why are you going to do things tomorrow when you can do it today? And so I find it, even in work and in my personal life, if I can do all these 10 things today, I can do it today. It doesn't matter if I'm going to be working and feeling like I'm out of breath here. I've got to get all this done because tomorrow there's 10 more things that I need to do. And so I think it's just me. It's just me. I've got to organize it like this. And so thank you.
And it's not perfect. This doesn't work for every single example, and it doesn't work for every single day, right? That's why I said I keep revisiting it time over time over time when I'm starting to feel like I have less control of what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time. Is it that I have let things become urgent and important because I've procrastinated, right? I have another training I'm going to be doing in January that I have to put together the slideshow for, or the PowerPoint. And I keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Well, right now it's a quadrant 2, right? But the more I procrastinate, the more it's going to become a quadrant 1, and that's all my doing, right? So this is just a way to think about it. It's not a perfect system, and it's not going to apply to everything, but it's just another way to have us take a pause and think about, am I taking my breaks? Am I procrastinating things that I don't want to do? So that then it becomes, I've created this pressure on myself to get it all done today. So it's a good point, Liz, is it's just about how we think about it and whether we're a time victim or a time master, right? Keep thinking about is, am I doing it to myself, or do I just need to reframe and take a minute? Thank you for sharing, Liz. Any other thoughts? So moving from current to ideal, when using the important urgent matrix, it's recommended to try and maximize the time spent in quadrant 2. Remember the big rocks. This will allow you time in the long run to reduce quadrant 1 activities, those urgent and importance, as many of them probably started as quadrant 2 activities. An objective of using the time management matrix is to question whether a certain activity brings you closer to goals or not. If this is the case, these responsibilities need to be prioritized over the tasks that demand your time, but do not contribute to your goals. Delay activities that do not contribute any significant output or until more important tasks are finished. In the end, it's really up to you is time scarce or is time abundant? Are your daily work activities leading you to your goals? And do you choose to be a time victim or a time master? So here are some other steps that might help you move from current to ideal. Put all of your to-do list items into the appropriate quadrants. Analyze priorities. Spend most of your time in quadrant 2 and engage in activities that bring you closer to your goals. Some few other quick tips. Setting SMART goals, that's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Do the hardest task first. Break big assignments into smaller steps. Know when to say no to protect your time. And don't multitask. It actually slows you down. And here are just a couple of quotes from Stephen Covey. Would someone be willing to read this one out loud?
I could read it.
Thank you.
Most of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important.
Yeah. One more.
All right. You have decided what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly, smilingly, non-apologetically, to say no to other things. And the way you do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside. The enemy of the best is often the good.
Think about that. The enemy of the best is often good or good enough. Right? You also have to think, is it easy for you to say no? why or why not. It's not easy for me to say no or not at this time. So you have to think about that. You might also have to think what support needs to be in place for you to be able to allow yourself to follow this advice. Do you need to talk with your supervisor about, I need to get better at saying, can we reschedule this or not at this time? What support do you need? Okay. Any questions? Okay. Here's the book. Well, sorry. Again, First Things First by Stephen Covey. Again, it's an old book. It's old, but sometimes oldies are the goodies. It's a great professional development tool just to follow back on. And again, like I said, this strategy is easily probably 20 years old, but it still works for me today, just to revisit the 4 steps of change and then the quadrants, where my work focuses and where I'm spending my time. All righty. Well, thank you guys for letting me share that with you. Like I said, it works for me. Sometimes not all the time. But I'm happy to share it with you. And again, the PowerPoint will be shared at the end as well. And at this time, unless there's any other questions, we can jump into community sharing. If you have events or things that you'd like to share with the larger group, we have a few minutes left for that.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'm looking at Cheryl, sorry. I just wanted to say thank you. I love mentally stimulating things like this. Sometimes it's a breath of fresh air besides our normal conversations about resources that we always do need. Anything in self-development or mental development is not just at home, it's also at work and everywhere we take it in life. We could touch, and like you say, oldies are goodies. I always like the older books because life is going back to basics most of the time. If you literally just go back to basics and not try to make a very small thing a big thing, always just kind of go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Yes, I did also. Before Jennifer jumped in, I wanted to say thank you, Kathy. The topic for today was really good and it was really interesting. And I like that. I actually got a little more into discussion with it because I could relate to it. So thank you.
Yeah. My pleasure. Okay. Any community announcements? Nothing coming up. Renee, you're going to send me the flyer for the trunk or suites, right?
Yes, I was just emailing admin right now about the flyer so I could get that to you.
Beautiful. Are there any other community events, any other trunk or treats coming up?
I will be attending with Jennifer the one on the 10th, correct? On the 10th for the Mickey Grove trunk or treat.
Thank you. That's just what I was pulling up Joanna's slides to make sure I didn't miss any. Yeah. So
Yes.
let me.
And then also we're going to Maya Angelou. Is that the 21st or the 22nd? I got
Maya
confused.
Angelou is the 22nd from 4 to 6.
22nd.
And what's that one?
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou.
It's a trunk or treat. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, great.
There's one more. We are having our El Concilio, one of our programs, Uplift, is having a job fair and a resource fair here at our Fremont Park. That's on 10/10, and it's going to be great. And there's going to be so many resources. It's also going to be definitely holiday, like the spooky. It's called Spooktacular Job Fair, and I'll have maybe Esther send it in our emails.
Great. And again, if you guys, I know I'm hosting this month, but if you send to Giovanna, She's the one that'll be doing the follow-up, any flyers, or if you send them to me and she's not on there, I'll forward them to her as well. We're going to want to make sure we get those out to the community. Back to the PowerPoint here. Oh, sorry. Go for it. Okay. Any other community announcements or spotlights?
There's also one at Franklin. It's called Hello Fest community event. That's happening on October 29th.
Okay, great. Well, then I'll jump into what's here. So the new training webpage is now available on the First Five website. So you'll see it has our community links presentation recording. So like the little training that I provided today will eventually be available on this. So like if you have new staff members or you just want to sit through it again, you'll be able to get it there. It's localized on-demand training on various topics and titles. And you'll see that it's on the sjckids.org home visiting network training that you'll be able to find them there. And I'm going to skip past this one because there was going to be a trauma responsive resilience building training on Monday and Tuesday. However, due to low registration, it's been canceled. So hopefully that'll be able to be offered a little bit later in the year. But November 4th and 6th is trauma responsive family engagement. So it's a little different twist about trauma informed care. It's model 400, and it's going to be offered November 4th and 6th from 9 to 12. Both days are required for attendance. And again, this is free. And you can find this resource on our First Five website as well. Our favorite resource spotlight, as many of you already know, Read to Me Stockton has expanded and is available throughout San Joaquin County. So here are QR codes to sign up for English or Spanish. Again, every child birth to the month of their 5th birthday, they can sign up for free books. Just leave space for any last minute upcoming events.
Kathy, I wanted to share with everyone, Stockton Unified is having a professional career day for anybody. If you have any clients interested in looking for work, it is March 20th. It's from 8 to 12 exam and application assistance at the district office. And then from 1 to 3 on-the-spot interviews. And so these are paraprofessional positions for special education, TK assistants, bilingual assistants, ELOC facilitators, preschool assistants, library media assistants. Again, it is going to be October 20th, and I'll send the flyer over.
October or March?
October 20th.
Okay.
Yeah, Monday. October
Okay.
20th.
Do you have a flyer for that, Liz?
Yes, I'll send it over.
Beautiful. I don't know why I thought you said March there for a minute.
I probably did in my mind, and I said it.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Well, just reminders, if you guys have ideas for topics or presenters for community links, please let us know, because these meetings are for all of us, and any way we can build capacity in our community, we're looking forward to it. Our next meeting is not September 5th. It is November 7th. Yikes. November. Woo. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Please send over any of the flyers or anything you want announced, and we'll make sure it goes out with the feedback. It's been my pleasure to sit in for Giovanna today. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Hey, Flandra.
I had to stay on to see you. I said, I'm gonna say something to her.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
You look good.
Thank you. I
You
feel
look
good.
good. You look good. That's good. That's good. Well, you keep feeling good and you keep looking good.
You too.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to stay on and say hello.
Yeah. All right.
All right. All right,
Talk to you
darling.
soon. Bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.